So, you want to beat Bravely Default 2 without using any Braves or defaults? Did you too see this trailer for the game?
Fear not, for our heroes are strong enough to handle these foul beasts.
Too easy.
Precisely. And it is all thanks to the Brave command, which lets you unleash multiple actions in one turn.
And wonder if you could prove it wrong? Well, if so, you've come to the right place. I spent about 30 hours doing a run of this challenge, and am now here to help you do it yourselves. Let's jump in. To start, you'll want to pick the hardest difficulty. After all, what's the point of adding your own arbitrary challenge to a game if you aren't going to do it on the hardest difficulty available? Now, a quick rule breakdown. Braves and defaults, two main mechanics of this game, are both banned. A default is the action of guarding and banking your attacking power for a future strike, and a brave is spending those banked up actions by pressing the R button, giving yourself more turns. Both of these features are banned. BP itself is allowed to be used or stolen, because some bosses would otherwise just end our run, and certain status conditions would otherwise make the run instantly fail. Now we start off the game after being summoned by a magical rock, where we meet Gloria and Sir Sloan. However, before they can join us on our adventure, we have a prologue to beat. As we head to the beach, we run into our first fight and our first blockade, the tutorial. The game won't let us progress until we've used the Brave command. Mission fail. Well, kind of. This does violate our rules, but we can at least minimize the damage. You see, Bravely Default 2 has a mechanic where you can attack your own teammates, including yourself. So, while we are forced to use a Brave attack, we can have our hero target himself with said attack, effectively making the use of the Brave non-existent. There's no way around this, so this is the best we can manage. Shortly after we stab ourselves like a depressed teen on a Friday night, two friends join us. Adele is a fairy girl taken human form, who is good at dealing physical damage, and Elvis is a rock star born January 8th, 1935, who has been isekai'd into this world as a wizard. With their help, we are able to beat the goblins and begin the run off right. Luckily for us, Sir Sloan joins the team before our next boss fight, and he essentially makes it impossible to lose here. Not only does he have infinite revives, but he can also deal massive damage to enemies. As you work your way through the abandoned house, try and get your team to level 4 or 5. Once you're at that level, you should have no problem beating the two bosses. Now this boss fight can be a long one. Though I'd normally try and target the healer, I think it's a better play to focus down whoever Sir Sloan has helped attack. The bosses only have a couple thousand HP, and Sloan can deal about 600 in a single strike. For that reason, try and focus on keeping your party's HP full when possible, allowing Sloan to continually attack instead of heal. The battle may take a while, but with enough patience, you should be able to eventually wear them down. After you do that, you'll unlock 2 new jobs, and Gloria. Now that your party is full, I recommend grinding up a fair bit, while Sir Sloan is still with you. Once you've reached level 10 or so, you can comfortably move on, challenging the next boss and easily beating him. However, once that is done, you'll come across Adam, who will steal the Windstone and kill Sloan, taking away our most powerful team member. That ends the prologue, and we enter the desert of Savalon. Now that we are at the desert, we are tasked with hunting down Orpheus. If you are wise and grinded before losing Sloan, then you'll be in good shape. I of course didn't, so I'll have to grind the slow way. Luckily, if you go to the beach in the first area, you can find slime monsters and fish monsters. And if you lure them all into a corner and pop a fish food, you can gain massive amounts of JP while also getting plenty of EXP for this early in the game. This will be our prime grinding spot for quite a while. Once you are sufficiently leveled, start the battle with Orpheus. This battle can be tricky, but there are simple strategies to help make things easier. For starters, Bravely Default 2 has combat items such as stones, which you can buy for about 200 coins each, and do 350 damage. Though not impressive late into the game, at this point, being able to deal that much damage consistently and against all enemies at once is crucial. I recommend buying the water elemental attack weapons for Orpheus, since that is his weakness, and elemental attacks never miss. They cost a bit more than physical attacking items, but the infinite accuracy is worth it. After throwing rocks and water balloons at him for long enough, he will eventually go down, unlocking our next target, the most important boss in the run. Anna Hall has the Beastmaster class locked behind her, and once we get that, our lives will become 10 times easier. Grind up until you are able to fight her, buying throwable sword weapons, then challenge her. She begins the battle with several monsters, but using the throwing weapons will take them out soon enough. From there, focus healing when needed, and the prince will help attack her. You can also farm in Orpheus's area for more powerful attacking items, which I recommend. It may take a few tries, but eventually you'll win this fight and find that the game has broken wide open for your benefit. Let's back up. Beastmaster, once leveled to level 12, has a special skill that boosts your stats for every monster you capture. This speeds up the grinding process greatly, since we can get just as much stat gain from defeating a strong enemy as a weak one. I recommend capturing monsters at every opportunity, and I also recommend making this your primary class for each character. This will make the rest of the game much simpler and less grindy. Next on the chopping block is Bernard. With the power of usable items and Beastmaster's boosted stats, you can take him down easily. He will try to steal your HP during the fight, so have one character dedicated to healing while the others focus attack. I personally use the Monk class and Black Mage class, focusing on fire damage to wear him down. Once that happens, the prince kills him and frames us for the murder. Luckily, prison breaks are easy in JRPGs, so we are able to walk right out only moments after the arrest occurred. Before taking on the prince, you're going to want to level up the Thief class, getting at least one unit, if not more, to maximum JP. It's probably the third best class in the game, purely because of the ability Godspeed Strike. This attack will be a great way of dealing damage to bosses through the entire run. Grind at the beach again until you feel confident enough to beat the false prince, then challenge him. With the new power of our abilities, you should be able to crush that fight with ease. After throwing the prince out of the window and taking the water crystal, we can leave the desert behind and continue on our quest for magical dominion. Part 2 of this challenge has us going into a forest town, which is inhabited by a bunch of people who are convinced that a little girl's ghost is speaking to them. This part of the game isn't very challenging, so I'm just going to blow through this section. You have to beat up 3 local bosses, but with Godspeed Strike and boosted stats from Beastmaster, none of them pose a great challenge. There are some skeleton warriors here who can be nice to capture while in the sewers, since while they aren't the most accurate, when they do hit, they can deal 9,999 damage, which is the damage cap of the early game. The painting boss is also a simple manner of spamming these strikes, and with the part 2 of this game over, a quick run through the haunted woods brings us into the snow biome, starting the next part. Part 3 and 4 both bring the difficulty spike back up a little bit, but it's nothing a bit of grinding won't solve. Martha with the Dragoon class falls easily enough, and from that point, I started watching the story, since this is about where my casual playthrough of the game was abandoned years ago. That said, there isn't a lot to comment about, story-wise or gameplay-wise. I won't waste your time. From here until the end of Part 4, you can essentially just use brain-dead strategies to blow through any enemy who stands in your path. Grind when needed, and use Godspeed Strike to get through any boss who stands in your way. This challenge stopped being fun around this point for a bit, and if I'm being honest, the script writing section is also much of the same. I won't bother making lame jokes to try and make this part of the game interesting, just grind through this part and try to have fun while doing it. The only challenge in part 4 comes from Adam. Luckily, this is the point in the game where I realized that you can just buy whatever weapons the boss is weak to. Buy 4 of the strongest axes your team can hold, toss some people over the side of the airship, and go into Adam, guns blazing. One thing to remember about this fight is that he will deal damage to himself as time goes on. So even if all you can do is keep yourself alive, you'll still eventually win. That said, poisoning him and heaping on Godspeed strikes whenever possible, as well as the stat boosting Beastmaster Rush, will be a great help. Adam has one finishing attack, and I highly recommend giving someone a lot of elemental defense to get through this. In my successful attempt, Elvis managed to be the only one who held on. My team was level 37 at this point, so if you're at a lower level than this, congratulations. You're officially better than me at video games. With that said, Adam's ship goes down and he asks us to save the world on his behalf, since his warmongering ways were all to create a peaceful world in the end. Truly a complex character. Part 5 of this challenge will have you going through several gauntlets of battles with 4 unique bosses. None of them are too challenging though. If you equip the weapons they are weak to. This area is also a good place to grind for money, though experience and monster catches are probably more efficient elsewhere. Eventually you'll find yourself fighting Adele's evil sister, the final boss of the game. Equip spears, take a breath, and face her head on. With the simple wave of moving at the speed of light after using all your special rushes, you should be able to bring her down easily. If you're still struggling with this battle, I recommend leveling up the White Mage's class all the way up, allowing you to heal yourself above your max HP, which aids you with your survivability. Now is also a great time to get other useful skills for combat. You'll likely have personal favorites, and I honestly don't have too many suggestions for this, since I kept a lot of the passive benefits the whole game instead of focusing on boss slaying ones. Once you manage to kill Edna, the Knight's Nexus will begin to appear. Gloria will step up, sacrificing her life to seal the Nexus away for another 50 years. This effort kills her, leaving our main character facing crippling depression and making this a mission success. Okay, I'll keep going. No reason to cop out now. After watching the credits, we can reload our save, swapping timelines. In this new timeline, we refuse to let Gloria die, instead deciding to go into the fairy forest and recruit them into our war. Adele leads the way, and after Elvis uses his matchless charisma to seduce the fairy leader, she agrees to help us. We will eventually be led to the true final boss arena, where we will see memories in the air as we descend down this cavern. There are some cats here with powerful light attacks, and I recommend capturing at least a dozen of them, as they will help make our lives easier down the line. Before facing down the boss, stock up on elixirs, and head to the Snow Town. Here we will want to buy 4 peace rings and 4 vaccines, accessories that will make us immune to the Night Nexus's status ailments that it inflicts. Level up until you feel comfortable, equip your team with staves, and face off against the Nexus. This boss fight has several stages, making it a long battle of attrition. However, with the help of our new items, you should be able to manage. Use the Ballcat's abilities liberally. Godspeed strike when needed, and keep your health high whenever possible. I recommend trying to conserve some of your special strikes for later stages too. Eventually, the boss will bring out a set of hands that will infinitely respawn. When facing them, focus one at a time. Then, when the second is low on HP, take a second to get your party ready to deal lots of damage. It may take you a couple dozen attempts, but eventually you should be at a point where you can defeat the boss once and for all. Unfortunately, this boss also has the power of save states in its disposal, and will continue to respawn as long as the Book of Saving exists. Eventually it will decide to eat all of your asterisks, and we will have no choice but to flee as the fairies sacrifice themselves to slow the Nexus down. Adele leads us to safety, then waits with her people deciding to needlessly sacrifice herself with the rest of her kind, a trait that would be admirable in a Fire Emblem unit, but much less so in a game where you only have 4 party members. She dies, leaving Elvis with crippling depression as he has managed to successfully cause the extinction of the entire fairy race. But at least this mission's success lets the main characters and Gloria stay together. Sounds like a mission success to me. Yeah, they did it again. Another fake out ending. Luckily, we get a rewind time once again, this time with another goal in mind. It's time to gather all the asterisks. Go to the gambling ring in Savalon and beat Shirley to a pulp. Then go to the secondary snow town and beat a nightmare version of a random citizen to a pulp. After stealing 2 asterisks, there is one last stone we need. Head to Sir Sloane's grave, attack him, realize our accuracy is absolute garbage, and eventually hit him enough to win. At this point, my party was level 45, with many captured monsters boosting my stats. Once you've beaten Sir Sloane's ghost, you're ready for the endgame. Forge the final asterisk, then grind one last time. The Brave Bearer class gives us an ability that allows you to have 2 different job specialties active at the same time, meaning we are no longer locked into Beastmaster as our primary class. Grind enough JP to get this skill. Grind up the Heckblade class, then equip that as your primary class with Beastmaster as your secondary. Catch enough monsters until your health is at 9,999. Then prepare yourself for the end game. With your current setup, you should be ready to head to the Island of the Dead and face the Night Nexus one last time. For real this time. Run through the area, fighting as few enemies as possible, then save your game one last time. With your current setup, you should be ready for the final fight. Of course, we are using the most cowardly of strategies. Our accuracy is still worse than a blind man throwing darts, so dealing quick damage isn't viable. Instead, I recommend you simply try and wait the Nexus out. You see, the Nexus also has a limited amount of MP. With the Heckblade class equipped, you recover HP and SP each turn, an advantage that will help us win this battle of attrition. Keep your primary focus on staying alive, and when you're able, use the Wind Sword attack from the Heckblade class, and eventually it will run out of MP and become useless. And eventually you should win. This battle took me 50 minutes, but eventually I was able to wear it down. However, there's a single problem. At a scripted point in the fight, this happens. Yep. The only thing we can do is brave. For the second time this run, we are forced into using a command that breaks our rules. So is this a mission success? Well, I feel like it is, even if the rules may technically disqualify it. I mean, we never used the brave or default command to aid us in combat, a challenge that added a bit less difficulty to the game than I originally thought it would. But at least now I know that the trailer was wrong. No, I don't need to master the brave or default commands to beat this game, even on its hardest mode. And if you've been following along, then you can say the same. Thanks for watching. Well, this video was a bit different than usual, but I'm grateful you joined me on this adventure. If you enjoyed the content, please give it a like so YouTube thinks I'm cool. And if you want to see more challenge runs in the future, subscribe to the channel. It's not like I'm desperate or anything though. Nope, not at all. I don't look at these numbers at the late hours of the night when I'm unable to fall asleep and wonder if my life will ever have meaning. No. What sort of loser would need strangers on the internet to validate? Subscribe, I beg you, please.